first production of the year was Split Second Newsroom. I was tasked to direct this production. It was a fast-paced, quick-moving news segment story where the cast would sit at a round table and all pitch out stories, and the voice of God, aka Professor Golda, would say if he liked the story or not, and they would vote on which stories would be in the final thing. The second week of shooting, we sat each individual person with their individual stories in front of a screen, and they did a more in-depth analysis of those news stories.
So I had the opportunity to work as a writer on Split Second News. It was originally supposed to be a story, kind of a traditional news channel, and then we changed it to everyone having stories. Then we would pitch it in a roundtable setting, so it'd be a lot more kind of free, interactive. It was amazing to work on it. Me being kind of a writer on the story and on the show was really cool because I was able to find the stories that we pitched, and I had never really taken a role like that in other production classes. I've been more behind the scenes with cameras and editing, and this was kind of my first time being in front of the camera, so that was a really interesting experience. I've kind of learned some tips and tricks kind of to help me be more comfortable in front of camera, so that was really amazing.
For Daylight 1 production, Gina and I had the opportunity to host it. We were both on camera, so it was a lot of fun. It was very overwhelming, to say the least. We had a couple of technical difficulties, including the camera. Our camera operators did not focus on the screen whatsoever, which is totally okay because we had to come back, and we reshot twice, which is also okay. It's a learning experience, so it's all about learning how to use the cameras, teleprompters, writing scripts, everything of the sort.
So in the beginning of the semester, I signed up to be editor of Daylight. Signing up to be editor, I wasn't really sure what I was getting myself into. When the time came to edit and I was going through the footage, some of the footage was blurry, so we had to schedule a reshoot, and we had to make sure that all the clips looked the same so that they flowed throughout the episode and it looked like it was all shot on the same day. I learned through this process that editing was very tedious. I had rewatched the show like hundreds of times in order to make sure like all the cuts were even, the music was at the right level. I think my favorite part about Daylight 1 is learning like how a show is like put together. I got to see like how all the behind the scenes goes together. I really like realized how much time is put into the after like effects and editing of a show, because for me that was like a really time consuming part.
One of our first sessions that we did was Spotlight, which was referenced to our In the Studio concert series, and it was actually a pretty cool experience. I was a director, and I was the one that was calling the shots and telling everybody where to go, which was something that I'm not really used to. And we had a couple of interesting people come in, all male artists who have a wide variety of talents. The first one that I recorded was, I think, a sophomore named Jamie, who played the piano, sang a little bit, and started off to be a little nervous, but once we kept going and recording, he loosened up a little bit, and he turned out to be a really good singer. The next person that we had was another sophomore named Charlie, who I could tell was really into Broadway, and the music that he was singing was really, it was basically really deep and had some deeper meaning behind it. The last artist that we had was Greg Matson, who is an up-and-coming country singer. He came down and showed us a little bit of what he does, country and blues, and it was just a really cool experience to get someone that's in the music industry and wants this to be his career to come in and just show us what he loves to do. So overall, it was a really cool experience. The editing part was a little messy. We lost some audio clips, and I had to use what I had. But other than that, it was a really good thing that we put together. Everyone loved it. It was a huge spectacle, so it was really cool.
As a class, we had the opportunity to be involved in covering the prayer service that happened at the Chapel of the Holy Spirit on campus. It was definitely something that was kind of thrown together, but in the best way possible, because all of us kind of got our task and headed to the chapel right before class started, and kind of threw this whole project together. It was definitely challenging to cover something that was so hard to kind of grasp in the moment, just because it's such a tragic reason on why the campus was coming together in the first place. So ethically, there was a lot that we had to do, that we had to really be professional in how we performed, what it was that we were trying to, cover. So it was really kind of difficult.
This week was definitely an interesting and different kind of class. As a class, we went to the chapel and recorded the prayer service about the violent crimes that have been happening through the United States and ways to stay positive. We had different cameras recording and showing the crowd in the service. After the service was done, me and Lena interviewed students and faculty, including the priests, and asked them questions on the spur of the moment about how they felt about the community coming together and talking, and how important this is that we educate students on being positive throughout these times and ways that we can make a difference just as college students.
So this year was once again filled with a lot of surprises and a lot of hard work. The team worked diligently on Spotlight and Daylight, and we even had a couple monkey wrenches thrown in. Some spontaneous stuff happened. We went to the chapel for a commemorative service for the shooting that happened, and it was an incredible moment. The university community came together. The students were very respectful and became journalists in the moment, and it was really nice to see that kind of attention being paid to the details and the feelings of the people who were there to experience that event. So that was really nice. The students overall this semester worked really hard on these productions, and it shows in the final look of the shows, and we had some rough starts on things, which is part of the learning process, so you have to roll with that. We had a TV show that we tried in the studio called Split Second Newsroom, and that was a lot of fun. It was an experimental kind of thing. It's kind of like a game show for selecting news stories, and while we had some luck with that, we decided that wasn't quite strong enough, and we're going to try it again. So that's good. This is a good, safe place to try those things and see what works and what doesn't.